we've got to talk about the last few years and how the declining quality from big companies when they're pushing out new films, and I love horror media and found footage most of all, but a lot of indie creators are just doing it better. Whether I'm too old to get scared anymore, or just because the kind of culture around gore and other things that I've grown up with, as a generation, I believe we've become desensitized to supposedly shocking or scary media now. But there's a massive change that's happening beneath the scenes with the help of indie creators. If, like me, you were stuck inside during COVID or on the internet around 2020 to 2024, you've most likely heard of the term or seen what is known as analog horror. Before we had the term analog horror, you might have known it as ARGs. And it began with an amazing series like Marble Hornets. But if you missed out on that series, you might have viewed analog horror from a different fandom perspective. From my own experience, the FNAF fandom had a massive part in the modern interpretations of analog horror. Whether it's short form or long form, you've most likely seen it on TikTok. The grainy, old-fashioned and cryptic vibes of analog horror strayed away from the typical lead-up to jump scare style horror, where sometimes there was no jump scare at all, and it was a deeply unsettling take on the series, like taking FNAF and added distorted audio as well as changing the designs of the characters to really get under your skin. A lot of the time though, it was used as an expansion and interpretation of the lore that was already canon by recreating pieces of lore with visuals or taking the lore in their own direction and creating something handmade and spine-chilling. If you're growing up in the early 2010s, you 100% came across creepypasta and the many characters from that universe, most notably Jeff the Killer and Slender Man. Each character with their own origin story, and it became super popular within art spaces in particular, and inspiring the creation of series like Marble Hornets, which is officially part of the Slenderverse. Taking a lot of the key elements of Slender Man as an entity and creating a piece of media that felt so realistic and yet so disorientating at the same time, you can truly see the passion put behind this small project and demonstrates that you don't need millions like a large corporation to make something genuine and appreciative of its source material and that feeds the fans truly. When it comes to indie horror, the first person that probably comes to mind is Kane Pixels. They created the famous Backrooms as well as The Oldest View. Their work is a masterpiece, and the diversity of their work whilst managing to keep their own kind of style is insane. The Backrooms expanded on liminal spaces, which are places that feel like they're disconnected to reality itself, but sometimes they can invite thoughts and nostalgia. The most famous one of the Backrooms levels is a tutorial level that features an eerie yellow-lit rooms, and you've most likely seen it featured in Backrooms games or online the most. It's a skill in itself to turn something so simple as a few connected rooms into something that makes you feel so uneasy and uncomfortable, even when it has an odd sense of nostalgia attached to it. Horror doesn't necessarily have to be scary, but connecting all the Backrooms, you can see the depth of lore behind each level. And even a level like this, that seems harmless, has an effect on the body that's so sinister. Backrooms is well known, but my personal favourite Kane Pixels work is The Oldest View. This follows a student who enters a hidden and underground abandoned mall that includes an entity that breaks the rules it creates by making its own narrative, as the presumed eye contact stops the creature rule is demolished after some time. Being able to construct horror out of something people would deem harmless is a true skill, with the screech of the wheels and the echo within the building haunting the narrative. This genuinely spooked me, and I haven't felt this gripped by a piece of horror media in so long. Like, Sinister makes me refuse to go into my attic without the lights on, but the worst thing is you've gotta feel around for the light switch, and if you know, you know. The Wharton Files brings a new life to analog and mascot horror in the modern era. But despite being inspired by FNAF, In no way, shape, or form is it a direct copy, as the aura of each piece of this puzzle makes it stand alone as its very own maker. Each character model unique and haunting in their own way, paired with the sound design of this series, truly defines itself as a series that doesn't fall into gimmicky scares, but instead opts for a raw and emotional approach that makes you feel unsafe, and as if the moderately realistic things behind your screen are more capable than they let on. There's always something so unsettling about childlike media styles being mixed with analog horror. And in my opinion, it can be really hard to execute without devaluing the shock experience, but this isn't necessarily vital because horror media can just be a visual show of skills, an art, opposed to intentionally inflicting the viewer with imagery that will scare them. In 2025, we got teasers for the film Weapons, and I was super excited to see this, and it looked so good. But in the end, it didn't really have the wow factor I was expecting. Being produced by a large company gave me some hope with the budget and the hype around the film, but it flopped for me personally. Sure, some elements like the basement scenes made me feel uneasy, but it was more so just a minor gore fest that wasn't necessary. And I might not be the audience for it, but I'm sure if you're a parent it might scare you to think your kids have just suddenly vanished within the night, but nothing left me in shock. Big companies unfortunately don't want to employ people who want to create something new that they're passionate about, and prefer to stick to things that make them money, but this strategy is ruining the film industry and harming cinema culture too, hence my title Corporate Horror. We've already seen so many cinemas closing due to the lack of ticket sales, with the boost of online streaming, but in my opinion, there's nothing that interests me, hence why it's so rare for me to see something in person now with the full experience of a cinema. Companies have contributed to the breakdown of cinema culture, where people were respectful, and film premieres were packed with people on day one. And there's been a slight resurgence with concert films, but it's not enough to revive what cinemas truly were back in the 2010s and even the 1980s. Thank you so much for the support and watching my videos. It means the absolute world to me. I make it all by hand, by myself. And it's really fun to make stuff about my interests and just other topics that, just something to talk about. But if you want to support me further, you can check out my Ko-Fi or even my personal business website. Bye!